We doing omelets today? Not that kind of yolk. All right, please forgive my terrible dad jokes. I literally can't help myself. In all seriousness, what I'd love to talk about today is the biblical phrase equally yoked. We'll talk about what it means and how you can apply this incredibly important biblical concept to your dating life and your relationships. Let's get into it. First, let's look at some scripture. Equally yoked is a phrase that comes from the Bible, specifically from 2 Corinthians 6:14 through 15. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness? What accord has Christ with Belial? Or what portion does a believer share with an unbeliever? To understand this phrase, we're going to have to take a quick look at farming. Are you sure this has nothing to do with eggs? The phrase originally referred to the practice of pairing two animals together, such as oxen, to pull a plow or a cart. If the animals were equally yoked, it meant they were of similar size and strength, making it easier for them to work together efficiently. If they were unequally yoked, the work of the team would be uneven and the task would become difficult or impossible. So, in a basic sense, the phrase equally yoked, as it pertains to dating, describes finding a partner for life with whom you can be harmonious and successful with. Here are 6 super important ways you can be equally yoked with someone. Number 1, what they believe about God and Jesus. Do their beliefs about God and Jesus line up with what you believe? There are many people who call themselves Christians, but they might interpret what that means differently than you do. We firmly believe that how you choose to live your Christian life is not something that is really up to interpretation, but it is something that should be grounded in what the scripture teaches us. However, not everyone feels that way. It's not that they need to have all the answers, but there are some big aspects of the Christian faith that you need to be in step with, or you'll be like the 2 oxen pulling at different speeds, or even worse, in different directions. Here are some questions to consider when looking at this. Do they believe that God is real? Do they believe there is only one true God? Do they believe in Jesus and that he is God? Do they believe that the Bible is true? Do they believe Jesus is the only way to heaven? These are just a few questions to consider, but you can see how differing viewpoints here between 2 people in a relationship is cause for concern. Number 2, what is their level of devotion to God? While it's not by works that we are saved, this is something that can be wildly impactful on the success of your relationship. How does their belief in God impact their daily life? Things like ministry involvement, church attendance, daily devotionals, prayer, tithing. How do you think being in a relationship with someone who doesn't hold the same values on these things as you will impact your own relationship with God? This may be a hot take, but you can be unequally yoked with someone who says they're a Christian. If you're on fire for God and they're lukewarm at best, then you may not be equally yoked. Hey, real quick, before we get to number 3, if you're enjoying this content and you want to help support the channel, would you consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons for us? It helps us to get this content out to more people. Thank you so much. Let's get back to it. Number 3, key political views. Yeah, we said the P word, but you're not supposed to talk about politics with relationships, right? Not true. With as heated as these topics are in today's world, and many for good reason, you have got to be in line with the person you're with if you want to have a successful relationship, which is what the scripture is trying to help us achieve. What are your views on things like abortion, guns, healthcare, education? While some differences can be overcome in this arena, others cannot, and they have become the source of heartbreak in many relationships. Number 4, emotional maturity and stability. How does he or she deal with things like anger, stress, conflict? Are they willing to apologize when they've done you wrong? Are they emotionally or physically abusive? Can they manage intense emotions? Not everyone is an expert at this, and some growth can certainly happen over time, but don't be blind to red flags early on. Take note of not just how they treat you, but how they treat others around them. Number 5, financial compatibility. Having similar attitudes towards money, spending, saving, and financial planning can reduce conflict and help build a stable financial future together. If this doesn't seem like a major issue for you, it probably should be. Money has been proven to be one of the leading causes of divorce statistically. For that reason, it's probably at least worth a conversation before you exchange rings. I send all of my oxen through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University for Oxen. That's not really a dad joke, is it? And lastly, number 6, goals of any kind. Do you want kids? Do you want to travel? Do you plan on having a career that will take large amounts of your time? Of course we know goals change over time, but if you're dead set on being a father or a mother, do you think marrying someone who can't stand kids is the right move? Probably not. Or if you know your love language is quality time, do you think you'll be happy with a significant other who plans on putting career first in their lives? Again, doubtful. Here's another spicy take. If your plans for your futures are headed in different directions, then perhaps you should too. Now, these are just a few examples, but they should start to give you a good idea of what equally yoked actually means in practice. When relationships are equally yoked, they are better equipped to navigate life's challenges together with a sense of unity and shared purpose. Find out what's important to you and then make a list of your deal breakers. Then, after that, you can make a separate list of would be great ifs. The truth is that outside of Christ, no one is perfect and no one can love perfectly. But it will be easier to find what you're looking for once you've written it out and can actually see what an equally yoked spouse might look like to you. Here are just a few verses that help to drive these points home. Philippians 2:1-2. Therefore, if you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from his love, if any common sharing in the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and of one mind. Proverbs 13:20. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. And Ecclesiastes 4:9-12. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. So let's land the plane. At the end of the day, the idea of being equally yoked is not to try and zap the fun out of dating. It's to help you have success finding someone who you can love and live with long term. If your goal is a fruitful relationship that leads to an incredible, lasting marriage, take this stuff to heart. And lastly, again, if you're enjoying this content and want to help support the channel, please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons for us. It helps us to get the content out to more people. Thank you so much.